had an episiotomy, and people were like,
You
"So
did?
how did it?" Yeah, and people were like, "How did it feel?" And I was like, "I
Girl,
don't know."
you gotta.
all
How have we not covered all this?
Yeah, because I was tearing, and she was like, and my midwife was like, "I think we need
That's
to."
better.
Yeah, and I was like, "Okay, just get it, do it." Yeah, it was like I can't remember if it was 1 or 3 stitches. It wasn't
Okay, that's not
terrible.
crazy.
Yeah,
She did a
she did it.
little.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, it's better than splitting.
And I was like, they were like, "How did that feel?" I'm like, everything was on fire. I don't know. It all felt
Girl.
hurt.
Oh my God. Okay. We're ready. This is the part I like. The lighting's so good.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Wait, where are we looking? Oh, okay.
The,
Oh, it has
the
thing.
computer one? Okay. This is really nice.
I know, they did a great job.
Have you seen those lights that have like the umbrella thing, like all the little lights that like spider out? Yeah, I saw that. I've introduced to that for the first time recently, and I was like, "That's fucking cool."
Yeah, I need that, and I need to put some sound paneling up. See, they have pretty paneling now.
Yeah.
I'm getting there, child. I'm so tired of being fucking Superwoman. Let me tell you something. Where this soft light? Where my sugar daddy at?
Right.
Where my G-Wagon at? I missed that chapter. Damn it.
Right.
Can I be basic? Is it too late? Okay. We're ready. We good? Okay. Welcome, everyone, to the Birth Queen podcast. I'm Rachel Nix, and I'm so excited to be in LA this week. I have a lineup of some pretty dope queens, and we're starting off with Angela Lewis.
Hey.
So Angela is here. She is born and bred, as they would say, in Detroit.
That's right. What up, though?
So we got Detroit and Oakland representing today in La La Land. So we're rooting LA.
That's
today.
right. That's right.
So, girl, there's so much to cover, but I want you to start by just sharing, for those of you who don't know who she is, a little bit about who Angela is and why Black maternal health is important to you. And, you know, you have been such a supporter of my work, of Kimberly Seals Aller's work, of Kindred LA, and beyond. So just kind of share with us why that is.
Yeah. So like you said, I'm born and bred in Detroit. And I spent 13 years in New York as an actor, a struggling actor. Yeah.
Those days
Hard.
over, though.
They over. You struggle in a different way. And actually, one of the things that I strive to do is to get away from like the term struggle, because I feel like there is struggle in the word struggle. And so if I can find the joy in my journey, then that changes a lot. So the struggling part, choosing between buying a backstage or a sandwich, those days are over, but there is always another level, a level where you feel like you're in the unknown, a level where you're aiming for the next thing, where your dreams have to become bigger and you're like, what the?
Or
Can we balancing on this show?
Oh, have you met me?
Okay, good.
Especially now that I don't work for nobody, I was like, oh, fuck, I can say whatever I want. It's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, be free.
Yeah, okay. So, I'm in, that place. And I feel like as long as we're alive, we're going to be in that place of like pushing through to get to another side or the next tier and whatever ladder or mountain that you're climbing, right? So I played Aunt Louie in the late great John Singleton series Snowfall. We're closing our 6th and final season. This week is our final episode. And that's so crazy, but so amazingly beautiful and freeing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to miss like the cast and the crew and the family that we built. But I'm happy to say goodbye to that part, that chapter. We got to start something, have a beautiful middle and arc, and then finish it. And a lot of people don't get that privilege, So, the 3rd season of Snowfall, I was pregnant the entire season. at the beginning, you have a doctor's appointment, standard thing for the union or whatever. And on the form, one of the questions was, "Are you pregnant?" And I was like, yes. And like I wasn't planning on telling anybody, but I was like, this must be for some like insurance thing. Let me go ahead and be honest.
Right.
And so very few people knew at first until I grew and grew and grew and had to, spill
Yeah.
the beans. But I say that just to say that entire season from beginning to end, I was with child.
Yeah.
And in my process, because I was or am privileged enough to be in a place where I have, an abundance of money to, have support and resources
Mhm.
without it being like, it didn't I didn't have to choose between diapers and a doula.
Right.
I
Yep.
found out about a doula years ago. A friend of mine when I was in college mentioned somewhere along the way. I had a couple friends who knew what that word was
Right.
and I was like, "Oh," and just, knew a little bit, but I knew enough like, "Oh, this is an important thing to look into."
Mhm.
And they also, one of my friends had a water birth in
Okay.
college. And so I was like, that sounds cool as hell. I want that for me. And so when I found myself pregnant, I had those two things that I knew, okay, this is what I'm striving for. Let me
Yeah.
find out, who do I need to talk to? What information? Let me Google doula. Let me Google how to have a water birth.
Right.
And those were the things that started me on my journey. And so I was able to put together a really beautiful birth team.
Mhm.
My plan was to birth in a birthing center. There happened to be one like down the street from my house.
Okay.
And I went and I visited, and it was a beautiful energy in there and
Mhm.
beautiful spaces. And I was like, oh, yes, this is so going to be peaceful.
I'm gonna
Yes.
breathe my baby
Yes,
out.
in the water. I
had
was
a neighbor
ready.
who told me, she's like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna breathe my baby out. We interviewed for me to be her doula." And I was like, "Okay." And afterwards, she was like, "Oh shit." I was like,
Yeah.
I was trying to be supportive and help you have a better realistic expectation of that. But
I mean, I have friends who say, I just breathed my baby
I
out.
mean,
I
some people.
danced my baby out. And I'm like,
Yeah, good for you. Yeah, I pushed for 3 hours.
yes, pushed for hours and hours.
Because I decided to have Amazon warriors. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah, so I had a doula, I had a midwife, I had a lactation consultant, which was Kimberly. I found out about Kimberly after I had already picked my midwife.
Okay.
And I was like, there's a Black midwife in LA, and so but they did other things. And so that's how I was supposed to take a breastfeeding class at the birth center.
Okay.
But the woman who taught the class, when it was time for me, she was on maternity leave.
Okay.
And so I was like, oh, and then a friend of mine told me about Kindred Space. And so that's how
Okay.
I found them. So fast forward anyway to my birth.
Shout out to Kindred Space LA.
Shout
Black
out.
owned, founded, 2 Black midwives.
And they have their own birthing center.
They have a birth center, classes,
They
community
are
support. They're
yes, they're the bomb. And that's who is supporting me this time around.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited about that. So let's fast forward because I have a whole long, complicated but beautiful birth story.
Yeah.
In the end, I needed to be induced, right? And so I was lucky that it wasn't an emergency situation.
Right.
So, and I was also lucky that my midwife had privileges at a hospital, which means she's able to deliver the babies. So we went
at a hospital.
At a hospital, right. So we went to Whittier Hospital, which is where she had privileges, and she was able to be in charge. And I have to pause here and say that in my last trimester, the last few days, I went on my baby moon and we went to a resort. And when I came home, my belly was itching. And I was just like, oh, and I'm just thinking, I'm stretching. Eventually that itching turned into a full body rash. And yes, and I had what's called PUPS rash. And you don't want to get PUPS rash because it first of all, what the heck is that? Like, I had never heard of that.
I don't know what
And I was like thinking I'm some kind of weird alien person. What did I do to get this thing?
Yeah.
And it turns out a couple of my friends had PUP rash and never mentioned it. And I'm like, we need to be talking about this because there is no way to like, well, there are ways to prevent it, but there's no, you don't do something and then get it and it's a bad, you know what I mean? It's just a thing that happens. But at least if we know about it, it's something that you are aware of. So you're not like, the aliens are taking over my body. What did I do? So there was a thing called PUP rash that you can get in your third trimester. And I went to the hospital, to Whittier, to get tested to make sure it wasn't a liver disease because that it can be confused.
Okay.
Or it kind of mimics a liver disease. And so when I went in to have this rash treated and they were like, oh, you're going to have the baby. And I was like, no, it wasn't time to have the baby. I'm here to get the rash treated. And they're like, oh, so you're going to stay and then you're going to have, and I'm like, no. And my midwife was, back in Mid-City, in her practice. And I just felt like I wasn't being heard. People were trying to force me to like have a C-section, and I just came to get treated for a rash. So finally, I called her and I was like, please tell them I'm going home.
Right.
She cleared everything up. I took the test. There was no disease. I was fine.
Right.
So when it was time for me to go back to Whittier to have my baby, I said to her, listen, I'm not getting there first. Either you got to be there first or we got to get there at the same time. Because that I experienced where it was just so... It was an outer body experience where you're watching people literally not listen to you, not care, telling you got to have the baby. I'm not even 41 weeks yet. Like, what are we talking about? So she met me at the hospital and I ended up with having to get Pitocin and an epidural and an episiotomy, like all the things I didn't want, I ended up having. And still, it never felt like, I did feel scared because I had a formula for death in my head, like Pitocin plus epidural plus more Pitocin plus not being able to push means I'm gonna die. And making sure the baby doesn't swallow any meconium. And baby
there was
did.
meconium
there was
present
at the end. And when she told me, okay, so there's some meconium,
so you're panicked.
And she was like, wait. Well,
I know. Sometimes you don't need to know everything. My midwife was good that way. She didn't, I lost track of time pushing Samuel, so she didn't tell me because I knew if I knew the timestamp, I knew what time it was, right? So, yeah, I think sometimes for those of us who are educated and empowered, all the details are not helpful.
Yeah, definitely. And she, she was like, it's okay. It's just a little, just makes us know it's time.
It's time. We got to get her, get the baby out.
And so I felt very supported. My husband was there. He was amazing. And the baby came out and I got to pull the baby out. And that was my favorite part. Like, what? Reach down and get your baby? Do. Feel like it was just like, wow. And then afterwards was where I really started to understand the real, like, I don't know. You know this story, this part of the story, because this is the blood pressure part.
Yeah.
And so, it took me some time to understand what had really happened. It was after the fact, right? So what happened was I went for my postnatal checkups, and at every checkup, when it was time to get my blood pressure taken, she would take the blood pressure, and it was high. But it was so high, I guess, that she felt like, oh, there's something wrong with this machine. And she would like, oh, wait, let me take it again. And then she would take it. And then I would be taking my blood pressure like 4 times in a row. Like,
And it was all the same?
and well, it was like vary a little bit,
But a little bit.
Yeah, not,
Right.
And so then she was like, well, and then they would go and get the other blood pressure thing. And
it would be the same?
Be the same. But she would say, okay, that's better. Okay, you're fine.
But am I?
Okay. Right. But it never.
Well, right. So I'm going to put a pin in it.
Yeah.
So you're saying you get to the hospital with the PUPS rash. You're not being listened to. You're not being respected. You don't feel cared for. You feel like you're being bullied and pushed choices on you that you didn't want.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's, again, so that's one thing. I think what's hard about this is when you're not being heard and cared for, it's hard to understand. And what we have to just say, which is also hard for us, is it is because we are Black.
Mm-hmm.
And what is so important about us doing this episode with you being Aunt Louie
mm-hmm.
is that she was not listened to as Aunt Louie.
Mm-hmm.
They
didn't even know who Aunt Louie was.
I mean,
you know what I mean? Like,
but I mean, I think more importantly, not putting it on them, but on us.
Yeah.
So I want to emphasize that she is Aunt Louie. Mm-hmm. She is resource. She had all these systems in place. She had education. She knew how to advocate for herself, but she still wasn't heard because she's still Black. And that is hard for us as Black people to be like, oh shit, like you're not listening to me, one. And that is because of the color of my skin. That is something that is really incomprehensible to us as Black people.
Yeah.
Because we are never going to devalue a human based on the complexion of their skin.
Right.
We don't do that.
Right. Right.
So it's hard to say, I have to advocate for myself or pivot because these people don't respect my humanity because of my skin.
Right.
And so I, as a people, think that we just, a lot of us, it's like, oh, slavery's over, get over it. And I'm like, but it's not over.
Right.
And what do we do with that, right?
Right.
But it's these moments, right, where she's not being heard, that she has to push. You need to push. Then the blood pressure, that's some other thing because they think she's strong.
Right.
And she's fine.
She looks fine.
She looks
smiling.
fine. Right. And so then we do that to ourselves because as Black women, we were raised to be like, girl, you strong, you got this, you fine. So then we're walking around like, I'm fine, everything's fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine.
Right.
And then we're really not.
Not.
So I think the other thing is encouraging every Black woman that listens to this, if something feels off, say it, scream it until someone listens to you, because they are small things like a headache, a little shortness of breath. It doesn't feel like you're about to die before you're about to die.
And that is the thing about blood pressure that I learned. It is called the silent killer because there is no headache. There is no thing. It's just this cuff is saying your blood pressure is high. So what I could have done had I known it is after, you checking and checking and checking. Okay, you know what? I'm just going to go to the hospital because, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I literally had no symptoms, but that's typical of high blood pressure.
They should know. And if you have
exactly
a full ass PPO, you're like, I'm coming to you to do your damn job.
Exactly.
I wasn't asking you to come to set and do mine. So I came here.
Exactly.
So what's happening?
And this went on for months. So my baby was born in October, November, December. In January, I was ready to get back out in the world. I was like, okay, I'm going to join the gym. I'm going to get a trainer. I went, and as a part of getting a trainer, they do a little workup on you, and having your blood pressure tested is part of it. So the girl is testing my blood pressure, and she's like, oh no, something must be wrong with the blood pressure machine. And I was like, okay, I'm not at the midwives, I'm not at the birthing center no more. Like, this is not the same two cuffs that we've been like, oh, you need to, spend some money and get some new cuffs. This is like a whole different place, a whole different person. And she's telling me
the same
something is weird. Yeah. And I was like, so I left there and I texted my nutritionist. I said, And I don't remember now what the
Numbers.
numbers were, but when I sent him the numbers, he said, "Go to ER right now." And I was like, right now? Like, maybe I should go home and like get Jamal, my husband, and my baby. And like, no, he said, right now. Okay, so let me text my husband and say, hey, I'm going to the ER. Something is up. So I get to the hospital. This is an urgent care in Beverly Hills. And I wait for like 5 minutes. There was nobody there. The doctor comes in. He asks me questions, and I'm telling him what's up. I tell him the whole thing. And he goes, okay, so let me take your blood pressure. He takes my blood pressure. He goes, oh, wait, let me do it again. Something must be.
Oh, my God.
And I was like, no, there's nothing wrong. I have high. This is bad.
Like, all I can do is laugh when you tell this story because I'm like, what on God's green earth? Were these all white people?
No.
Okay.
One was Latina, the trainer. The doctor in the urgent care was South Asian.
But no black people dismissed
No,
you.
no
Okay.
black people.
Let's put it that
me.
way.
Yeah.
I'm honestly speechless.
And
like, what do we do? I think it's because, I'm so solution oriented.
Yeah.
But what do we do with that? Like, how did it make you feel? Is that a better question? As it was happening?
As it was happening, it's crazy because it never felt like there is a difference between someone being overtly disrespectful and calling you a nigger or something like that, or like, and then, so there's that extreme, but then there's you look perfectly healthy. Something is wrong with the machine. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's like.
And I'm supposed to trust you and your white coat.
Yes.
Right.
And so if you say, oh, it's the machine, I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe you need to get a new machine because this is crazy. Why does this keep happening?
But not for 7 different machines.
Right.
And people.
Right. And so, it wasn't until after where I had time to process. I'm like, they really was going to let me walk out of there and stroke out at any given moment, because that's really what could have happened.
Yeah.
For 4 months, I could have dropped dead.
And that's what everyone needs to understand about the Black maternal health crisis. It's a dismissal of pain. It's a dismissal of clear numbers on a machine. And so many of us then drop dead.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, like when I think about like my trainer, because I still work with her, you know what I mean? Like, and if she ever saw this, she would feel so bad. She loves me and I love her.
No, and it's not that it's wrong. I think it's that we don't want to see the worst, but like we need to acknowledge what we're seeing and also play it safe when it comes to someone's care.
Yes.
Err on the side of
right.
Be conservative.
Right, exactly. Right. And at least be like, oh, this thing says your blood pressure is really high. How about we do this? Yes. Right. As opposed to like, something wrong with the machine. You know what I mean? So it's so nuanced.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks to our struggle in general.
Yeah.
There's so many like microaggressions that we have to like dodge and jump over and sidetrack just to like keep going and keep our sanity. And when it comes to our health, like you said, these people that we trust and that we want to trust. And, if you're like me, I do research if I'm getting a new washing machine. So
I'm going to call you.
Please do.
I'm like, here's the credit card. I don't know.
I can't, because if my shit break down, I'll be like, then you open a review, 50,000 reviews saying the machine gonna break down. You're like, no! I'd rather know ahead of time you get the one that's gonna work. And so, when I was picking
why all of my friends are so OCD. I don't know how I attract y'all. I couldn't be more opposite. It's amazing. You're
But when
strong where I'm
when,
weak.
when you put that much research into the people that you're trusting with your care, your life, and then, after the fact, you look back and you're like, wait a minute.
I think the real here for me is twofold. It is for Black people, women, but it's really for everyone else. Please
Yes.
question and deconstruct this idea that Black people
Yes.
and women are like superhuman.
That's right.
I say this when Black men get shot like 45 times.
Right.
I'm like, did you think he was the Incredible Hulk?
Right.
You must have. Like,
Right.
you really think we are super fucking human.
Yeah.
I mean, they have studies that they think our skin is thicker,
Right.
and that we know that people still feel like Black women don't feel pain the way white women do, in childbirth and beyond. And it's like, that is not true. We are human beings.
Yeah.
So when you start to say, oh, girl, you're fine, or you're so strong, like, stop.
Right.
Because then you're selling us that lie as well.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't until maybe 2 years ago, I had a conversation in Oakland with my cousin, and I'm like, shit, I don't think I've ever said I'm not okay.
Mm.
I always, like,
That
I had
gave
a
me
girlfriend that
chills.
was a joke, because I'd be like, it's fine, I'm fine, everything's fine. We would joke about it, but she's like,
Right.
Rachel, I'm not always fine. And then one day I said, I'm not okay today. And my girlfriend was like, you were going to choose joy and everything's fine. And I said, you know what? Not today.
Right.
And it took a conscious effort to feel safe enough that I'm not failing myself or anyone else as a Black woman and say, I'm not okay.
Yeah.
I know I can do it, but I don't want to be superhuman anymore, because we're not.
Right. Yeah.
And that is the expectation of even our men.
Yes. I put something online.
And I love you, Black men, but it's like,
I had done an interview.
we're still women.
And I had done an interview, and in that interview I said, Black women, we have to fight for everything. We even have to fight for the right to be vulnerable.
Yes.
And a Black man responded to that, and he was like, you want to be weak, such and such. And I was just like, oh boy.
No, I want you to be soft. And that is the criticism, right? So there was research by like mental health professionals that said, oh, Black women's anxiety manifests as anger and irritation.
Mm.
And then I did a webinar last week, and she said often what it is we're being violated.
Mm-hmm.
And so that deep level of violation triggers anger.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's when you see a Black woman look really tough, we're actually too afraid to be vulnerable, because no one ever asks if we're okay.
Yeah.
And so much of my work, just both with my friends, right? Like when we're texting quickly, like, how are you? I mean it for real. And like, I know we have that where I can, like, you feel safe. When my girlfriends can send me one of them text messages like all the way down, I'd be like, yes, we real friends. Okay? Like, she like, let me fucking unload what's really going down. That's why I had that vision, remember?
Yeah.
So, let's tell everybody.
Okay.
We've been working on, anybody want to pay for this? That would be great.
Yes.
We have a whole series that we put together, the two of us and Stephanie Lily Smith. Her concept helped put all of our, she organized our ideas in a brilliant way.
Yes.
So if anybody wants to produce a series on Black maternal health that is focused on dealing with the solutions and highlighting the joy.
That's
it ain't
right.
no rinse and repeat of trauma and drama. We ain't got,
We're not
there'll be
doing
some
that.
drama, but in all the
There
right
is
ways.
joy.
Dramatic
Lots of
joy.
Yes.
But yeah, it's a lot, because we really need a hug. But I think I've even had like Black male friends of mine who be like, well, but you got this, girl. You got this. You so strong. And I was like, but your baby mama get like a whole lot of money every month. Can I have some of that? I don't want to be that strong. Can I get on the payroll? No, like, and a hug. I remember with my ex, I would have days where I'd come home overloaded. I'll never forget he said this. He was like, yeah, days that you're stressed and you walk in the house, I just leave you alone.
Mm.
That crushed me.
Yeah.
I'm like, I need you. When I come home, I want to be soft.
Right. Right.
Because I have to do
You gotta
this
muscle through.
dance and all of, I'm
Yes.
trying to disarm people and all
Yes.
that all day. And I choose to be authentically me in my life, but it's still a dance.
Right. Yeah.
We always have to do a dance.
Always.
And sometimes for each other, because, as you enter a room full of Black people, you're like, listen, I'm here. This is a safe space,
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what the solution is, but it's hard on us as Black women.
Very hard on us. And there's so many masks, and then we're not even gonna talk about. I was talking with a Black man friend of mine just like yesterday, and it was quite refreshing because he didn't say muscle through. He acknowledged the wearing of the mask, because I was telling him, like I was telling you, like when I'm walking around in my everyday life, if you don't watch Snowfall, you don't know who I am. And I'm not
even like, y'all can be more different.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'm sure some of that in there, though. You try to keep it here.
They hired me for a reason.
She from Detroit.
Right.
And I'm from Oakland. We smile a lot, but you fuck around, you
gonna find out.
Yeah, right. People be like, oh, you sound very passionate, Rachel. I was like, you want to keep that Oakland inside, like a little genie. Keep it in the bottle, okay?
But I was telling you guys, like, I'm not walking around, all designer dot. I got on my sweats. I went to the nail salon, and it was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. I walked in, and I was there, and I just noticed, I noticed when I'm pregnant, I'm looking at the world, and usually, like when I see a pregnant woman, I smile, like,
right.
And it's such a beautiful thing to receive in return. And I noticed that in my first pregnancy, when I didn't have on my wedding rings, I wouldn't get smiles back. It would be like, and I'm looking away, and I'm looking at the floor, grimacing, looks of disgust, and I'm like, so I made it my mission.
By the way, is fly.
Thank you. I made it my mission to always wear my wedding rings when I was out. Like, I'm married, people. I'm okay.
And even if you're not,
and
guess
even
what?
If you're not, exactly.
I'm having a baby, and that's a beautiful thing.
Exactly.
And if I'm married or not, it's none of your fucking
business.
Of your
fucking
But by the way, Black women repeatedly, when they go to the hospital in labor, are asked, do you have a husband?
Why does it matter?
Why does that? I am about to have a human.
Right.
My marital status has nothing to do with that.
Nothing.
It happens often.
Yeah.
How many kids do you have? What are their ages? Like, these are the things that Black women deal with in labor.
Right.
I was like, by the way, who the majority of people on public assistance do not look like us.
Yeah.
By the way. That's a number. That's like a fact, not a perception. Go ahead.
So here I am in this pregnancy, and my fingers have swollen just at least a little bit. Like, they don't look like hot dogs or nothing, but
no, they're cute.
Thank you. But I know that they've swollen because my rings don't fit.
Right.
And that didn't happen for me until like the last month of my pregnancy last time. So, I'm walking around, and because I noticed what I noticed last time,
right,
I was like, oh, well, I shouldn't have to have my rings on in order to feel worthy of anything. I shouldn't have to have on my diamond earrings to feel like I can walk into a restaurant and be respected. Or, you know what I mean? Like, whatever the status symbol is, I shouldn't have to have that.
Yeah.
And so this time around, I was like, well, I'm 5 months, because it's been like a month. I'm 5 months, my rings don't fit, and you just gotta walk through the world as you, and you can't, it doesn't matter. People smile, they don't, whatever. But it is it's like a chipping.
They call it weathering.
Yeah.
And that's, if people don't understand, like, it affects our health because it's the microaggressions, it's the judgments, it's the criticisms, it's the weight that we always have to carry. And I had this conversation during the pandemic with my cousin. It's actually, shout out, happy birthday, Rod.
Happy birthday.
That it's not a competition. Being Black is beautiful and it's heavy. It's both, right?
Yeah.
And that I made the argument, and he agreed, that we do carry more as Black women because we want our men to be able to go be our king and conquer and go out, and Black men can't go out worrying that they're not going to come home, right? To accomplish their day.
Right.
They got to just go and hope for the best to be, our providers and protectors.
Right.
But while they're out providing and protecting, we're worried if they come home or not.
Yeah.
And we go to work, we breastfeed, we have babies, we cook, we clean, we pay the bills, we take the trash out,
I don't be taking the trash out. I got to be honest about that.
Yeah, that's good.
My husband went out of town one time, and I was like, oh, no.
I try to tell my boys, 'cause, I'm like, y'all drag this trash out. But, I got a different situation. But soon they'll just do it. Because mommy is like, all right, come on, y'all. Samuel was 2, he was 3 years old. We were on the way to pre-K. And I said, go ahead, grab some recycling and let's go.
Yeah.
Because I'm raising men.
Yes.
And he was like, my hands hurt. I said, well, we're going to stand here till your hands feel better and you go grab a box. And that's my kid's reality. He was, as soon as he could walk, especially when we were in the apartment in Harlem, I'd get the bag. He like, I help you, mommy. I said, that's right. Go ahead.
Yes.
And daddy don't really take out trash. But they going to learn to
I had to think really hard that weekend. Like, if I don't take out the trash,
it's going to
we
smell
gonna
like
have
ass.
rats. And all. I'm like, okay, guess I should take out the trash.
You're like, I guess I can. So you did figure out the soft life, at least on the trash.
Yes, exactly.
On the trash.
Exactly.
Before we close, because there's so much we could talk about,
Yeah.
can you talk about, as you are a successful actor and a mom, how did you do that? How are you doing that? And how does that make you feel?
That is always a great question. I don't know how I'm doing it. I'm doing it. You know what I mean? Like,
and you breastfed for 3 years, almost 3 years?
Yeah, 3 years.
Yeah.
3+
So I think that's
years.
also important to highlight. She has long days, but she was able to successfully be an actor and a mommy and a breastfeeding mommy.
Yeah. So my daughter was born in 2019, just months before everything got shut down. So I don't know how I'll do it this time around.
Okay.
It'll be a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Perhaps, I did, once we went back, I was still pumping, but it wasn't like
the same.
Yeah, because she was 2 at that time, so the milk had gone down, and but it's an interesting thing. Needing to pump, like they gave me time. Okay, so this is how much time do you need before you need to go pump, and how much time do you need? And there was open communication around that.
Right.
But I did notice people would be like, "So you're gonna go do what you need to do?" I need to pump. Yeah. So I can breastfeed my child. Breastfeed. Like, why?
Meanwhile, your show is violent as hell.
Yes.
Deals with crack.
What is happening?
I'm like, isn't this show about crack? You can't say breast milk?
And people would be like, so do you need anything?
Titties. My titties make milk. I've had sex. I have a baby.
So
you have
weird.
a penis. I have a vagina.
It is the craziest. I'm like, y'all, I literally had to say, y'all, come on. We don't have to tiptoe around breastfeeding. Like, then milk. You can say milk. Because they would really be like, do you need somewhere to put the milk?
And you're like, I'm not going in there to like masturbate and collect.
So weird.
It's not a donation like of sperm or something.
Right.
Even that, I'm like, great. It's for a good cause.
Exactly.
Oh God.
I don't know. So weird things like that happen, and you have to like. That's one of the things that we're like working around. Like, okay. And so I don't know how I'm doing it. I'm just doing it. I am. I try to.
You have help.
I definitely have help.
Okay.
There is no shame in having help. people.
And I would say as a Black person, that was weird for me, like the idea of having a nanny.
Yeah.
Shout out to Mimi, okay? Because when I hit it big, Mimi get in the house. If I ever win an award, she gonna be on the red carpet.
Yeah.
Because my life is possible because of Mimi.
Exactly.
Period. The end.
Period. The end.
And she sees me and all that I do, and we have this beautiful relationship where she's like, "You go work, and so that you can take care of the family and me, and I'm taking care of this while you go do that." Exactly. So we take care of each other. It's not help, and she's family,
right?
And I'm really big about caring, and that's huge. But I think it was a bit of a hang up. And then when my son says, "Yeah, my nanny," and I'm like, "Oh, what
people
life
are gonna
is this?"
Exactly.
I ain't grow up with that.
Yeah, exactly.
I grew up with aunties and after school.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it's different, but I want to be clear about that so that anyone, but especially Black people, it's different, especially with slavery. You like, I got hired help. This is odd.
Right.
In Africa though, they have all the help.
They have help.
Can I move to Ghana so I can have a driver, a cook, a chef, I was like,
all the things.
This is amazing. Goals, hire, delegate.
That's right. And that doesn't mean you have to be rude and mean
to
the people that you're paying to help you live
back
your
to
life.
Weathering, right?
Yes.
If you're trying to do everything, it's not
can't.
good for you, your kid, your partner, your job. Like you can't, you cannot.
You can't.
And as working actors, the hours are like minimum 12 hours.
Yeah.
Really like 14.
Easy.
Minimum.
You're right. And you never know, you don't know what time you're getting off work.
Right. And
you could be like, oh, this is one scene. It's just me and one person. I'm going to be out here by 2 p.m. Next thing you know, it's 2 a.m. And you're like, okay.
And then you're still mommy. That's what the other thing your kid don't give a shit that you Aunt Louie.
None.
And that you work till 2.
She sleeps.
She like, well, that's it. You gotta come back.
Exactly.
And when you get home, like freaking Walking Dead.
Yes.
Anytime they literally are like, yeah, mommy. And I'm like, y'all was asleep. I always blame the breast milk because I thinking they can smell it. But even now, I'm like, damn.
Still.
And all of a sudden, it's like, you just got home, mommy. And I was like, and I'm a little drunk. Go to bed. Why? And they're like, I want to get into bed with you. I was like, I don't want you to be in the bed with me, sleeping on my neck.
Right.
Like, oh my God.
You please.
Yes. It's like, I love motherhood. It's awful. Never sleep. You can't shit by yourself, shower.
Baldwin's like, will let me do that. She'd be like, stinky mommy. Closes the door.
Well, I have boys, they in there like, what up? Baldwin went through this adorable phase because I get no privacy, which I think is great because now they understand like what a period is and whatever.
Right.
And then I remember the day, he's 2.5, but it was right at 2 that he looked up at my vagina because, they're right at the and he was like, then he looked down. He's like, something different. She got a different thing. And then I wiped. So then he went through this whole thing where he'd stand there while I peed. And then he'd get my toilet paper. It wasn't really something I could put on Instagram without seeming kind of gross.
Right.
But it was so adorable that he was understanding my mommy has a vagina and needs toilet paper. It was so adorable. I was like, you going to be a good man. You going to get her some toilet paper.
So I'm having a boy, right?
Yes.
And so Brooklyn is like, my daughter is like starting to like really understand he, she, vagina, penis. And she's like, Daddy, is that your penis? He's so like, Brooklyn. So like, she gotta learn.
My dad still can't watch a sex scene on TV with me. I'm like, I have 2 whole ass kids.
Right.
But when I got married, he was on the phone with me every day. Like, so when the grandkids coming, I said, well, that includes sex.
Right.
So I don't know. My mom was like, he did that. I was like, yes. He'd be like, so when are the babies coming?
Right.
I was like,
my dad does that too.
Yeah, don't.
Like that.
It's actually not good. I found it very endearing, but if you have trouble getting pregnant, that could be very stressful.
Yeah, absolutely. I just found it
I'm like,
stop.
Yeah. And you waited a minute.
Yeah.
So
because I was like, my husband, he wanted to have kids immediately. And I was like, no, we're going to be married for some time. And I'm glad we did that because it is more than a notion.
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah. But career and being a mom, again, I'll just say again, I don't know how I'm doing. Things come up. I try to live my life in as much awareness as I possibly can. Excuse me. And so you know, when this needs to get done, I address this. When this, and right now I'm trying to navigate. Like my daughter's been on spring break for 2 weeks.
What, like who did?
Who?
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
And
2 weeks.
mhm.
And I'm home working. And so what I learned from her parent teacher conference is she is very capable of playing on her own. She won't let us. She's like, play with me, play with me. So we like thinking we got to keep her entertained 24/7. No, she know how to play by herself.
Yeah, stop
So
that
now,
helicopter parenting.
so now I'm like, okay, Brooklyn, you're going to go play for
Mhm.
40 minutes. And then I give her like 10, 15 minutes on the iPad to play her little game. In that time, I'm doing my work, whatever I need to do, and then I'll play with you for 20 minutes, and then you'll have some more play alone time. So that's kind of how we're navigating because I don't have a nanny right now. When she started school, plus my nanny, hey, shout out to Chanel. She has big dreams and she started her own daycare. So
Okay.
she's doing that, and Brooklyn's in school, so I didn't need anybody full time anymore.
Yeah.
And but now when she's home, it's like, oh God, what we gonna do? Children's Museum, Natural History Museum. What other museum can we go to?
It's a lot.
But
And they are different with us. Like they not trying to
right.
sit still. My son's
Right.
teacher's like, he's so great. And then after school, he acts like a psycho. And then I have 2 boys. So even my mom, it's me and my younger brother. So, and he was, he reads The Economist for fun. So he was like a different type of dude, or he would just go and play basketball outside quietly.
Right.
My kids, she was sitting there just judging like, damn, it's really loud in here. I'm like, yeah, we free up in here.
Right.
It's real loud. Pop a gummy or put some earplugs in. I don't know. Like it's loud. Okay. In closing, what in a few sentences, what was your biggest push moment and what are you giving birth to next?
Tell me more about the biggest push moment.
Anything. Like what did you push through? It doesn't have to, it could be Brooklyn.
Yeah.
But
ooh. I will say that people always ask me like, how am I like Louis, or am I like Louis at all? Or what did I learn from Louis? And I say it time and time again. I'm gonna say it here because it really was I am learning because I'm still learning how to walk in my power. I think there's one thing to stand in your power, and then there's a whole other thing to like actually walk in it.
I felt that.
Yeah. And I learned that I couldn't be afraid in playing Louis. I couldn't be afraid to look stupid holding this gun. I couldn't be afraid to feel stupid being a drug dealer or whatever that means, and however that's going to show up in the scene. I had to talk to the resources that I had, which is show me how to hold this gun, show me how to do this. Okay, I got to cook crack now. Okay, what's the lesson? Oh, I got to do my wrist like this, too fast, too slow. You know what I mean? But I couldn't be afraid. It couldn't look like she's scared.
Louis pushed you.
Louis pushed me, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But then that bled over into my real life.
Yeah.
Louis said exactly what the fuck she wanted, and she went and got it. And in my life, as I am reaching a different place in my career, everything is new. It's a whole different ball game. Now, all the things that I worked to be able to express and dream and all the things, now I'm at a different place. It's like, oh God, now I gotta talk to these people. Now I'm producing and I gotta have pitch meetings and it's a lot. It's very scary for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't walk in my life afraid because I can't do it. Mm-hmm. This life that I'm living now, can't be scared. Not that fear can't show up, but I can't let it run me. And so that is my biggest push that I'm still pushing through. I'm still birthing this next phase of my life and my career and of mommyhood. I'm getting ready to have 2 now. Like, holy shit. Okay.
Beautiful chaos.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you're giving birth to little man.
Little man. Not it.
Not it.
Him.
Hims. I love you so much.
I love you too.
And yeah, speaking of like doing this, we doing that together. It's a
Yeah.
whole new phase. I'm happy to have you in my orbit.
Yes.
And we are all blessed to have you. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Angela.
Thank you, Rachel.
And this is a to be continued for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure.
My birth queen.
Yeah. Thank I'm a birth queen.
You are a birth queen.